Okay, here we go. Kansas City, Buffalo, 2nd down and 5. 2nd and 5, and Buffalo is in 21 jumbo personnel. 21 jumbo means there are two backs in the backfield here, and we have a player playing in a tight end position, and he is eligible, but he is an extra offensive lineman. So we'll call him 21 jumbo, 2-1 jumbo. The formation is cut here, on here. So that's cut on two receivers to this side. And then we have one cut here. So that's cut on 21 cut. Cut on 21 cut. All right. Backfield set is I backs. All right. We're going to get a motion that's going to switch this to I under, but for now it's an I backs. All right. All right. Now, what we're talking about on this play is what's called a split zone toss. And I'm going to go ahead and let it run, and then we'll look at it from the other angle. One thing to note from this angle, though, watch Justin Reed. So this is some sort of an 8-man box, okay? We know this because Justin Reed is coming down into the box already. Now, when I say 8-man box, what I mean is this. It means I have a single safety high, all right? Single safety high means one safety is deep, all right? The other safety is coming down into the box to be part of the run front. So this is what's called an 8-man box. If both safeties stay deep, then this would be a 7-man box. Okay. And really, those are the only two designations that I'm using. There's 7-man box if there's two deep safeties, 8-man box if there's one deep safety. In this case, one deep safety because Reed is coming down into the box. So this is an 8-man box. Okay. Now, we talked about an 8-man box being one back, one gap. However, there's two backs in this case. All right. So we're going to get two backs, two gaps. All right. So Reed's coming down. Reed does a really nice job of fitting this. See how tight he comes to the edge of the formation here to make this? Meaning he doesn't go super wide. When he's the edge player, when you're setting the edge, there's two things that you want to be careful of. You don't want to get up the field too far and let the running back come underneath of you. That's one. All right. And the other thing is you don't want to be too wide to give him space inside of you. So this is a really good job by Justin Reed of not getting too deep. And he gets deep enough to force it back inside, but not so deep that he bypasses the actual ball carrier. All right, now we're going to look at it from the other side, and there's a couple things to talk about. All right, before the motion, these are the gaps that the linebackers have. Okay, and when I say linebackers, I'm talking about the second level off the ball guys, not including the D line, not including the corners. All right, so that would be these four guys: Justin Reed, Tranquil, Bolton, and Leo Chenal here. Right now, because there are two backs, they could have one of potentially two gaps pre-snap. All right, and it's all going to be predicated on where the fullback goes. All right. And the reason is because when the fullback inserts into this offensive line, he's going to create another gap. In other words, he carries a gap with him. All right. So in this case, if he goes to our defense's right here, then we're going to have Leo go to the right out here. We're going to have everyone's going to go to the right. Bolton's going to go to this A gap. Leo's going to go to this. It's going to end up being the D gap because when the fullback gets here, see, when the fullback comes to this position to block the edge, he creates a new gap outside of him, or between. There's one now between him and the tackle, and then there's one outside of him. All right. So 51, the defensive end, is probably taught to squeeze this and spill that. So he'll end up in the C gap inside of the fullback's block, and Leo will end up in the gap outside the fullback's block, or the D gap. Okay. All right. So that's why when there's two backs, we have two gaps. It's because the fullback represents an extra gap that will be created once he inserts into the line. All right, so let me erase that line. All right. If he were to go to our left, then everyone would follow their left arrows. Now, the reason that there is two arrows seemingly going to the same place for Justin Reed is this. If the fullback comes to the left, to the defense's left, he's going to create a new gap outside of this tight end / offensive lineman. Okay. And because of that, if he goes to our left, Reed will be outside of that block, right? But if he doesn't come over there, then there is no new gap created. So he'll end up being right off the edge of this tight end. Okay. So that's why he appears to be going to the same gap either way. That's not the case. When the fullback inserts, he'll create a new gap. Reed will be on one side of that gap or the other, depending on where the fullback goes. All right. So let me erase that one now. Okay. So now we're going to get motion to I under right there. Okay. And now we know the fullback went to the right. Right. The fullback is now on the right side of our formation as we're looking at it. So he's going to block this end. So everyone is going to their right gaps, their right side gaps. Now, if I go back to the original arrows, Okay, so here's the original arrows. That's where everyone's going. If the fullback goes right, we can just get rid of all these left arrows. Get rid of this one, get rid of this one, get rid of this one, get rid of this one. All right, that's where everyone's going. Watch. Boop. Okay, and those are the gaps that we just talked about. Now, it looks like they're moving because the line is moving, but those are the gaps that we just talked about. Bolton in the A gap, Tranquil in the B gap here, Reed on the edge here, and then Leo Chenal is going to be backside in the D gap that's created as this fullback inserts here, and the end will be in the C gap. All right. And man, I mean, it's just these guys do it so well. It's like this is pretty complicated stuff, and they make it just look so routine, which it is for them. Okay, but it really all comes down to these rules. The rule is fullback goes right, I'm going to my right gap. Fullback goes left, I'm going to my left gap. Now, someone asked me the other day, what are the two possible gaps that I have if I have two potential gaps? They're the gaps that are on either side of the defensive lineman that you're stacking. Okay, so in this case, we know I get our safety coming down to the left. So Tranquil either has this gap where there's no defensive lineman, or when this fullback inserts out here, there will be a gap outside there where there's no defensive lineman. Same thing with Bolton. It's this A gap here or this B gap here where there's no defensive lineman. For Chenal, it's this A gap here or out here when the fullback inserts where there's no defensive lineman. Okay, so that's where the two gaps come from. All right, now, well, what I want to watch on this is watch how Tranquil and Bolton work together on this. First of all, we talked about Reed from the other side. He did a great job of coming up and setting the edge and making this ball turn back in. Okay, so the ball right there has to go back in. Now, if we look at what Tranquil has done here, he's gone and pressed his gap and taken away that B gap that was originally available, right? Here's that B gap. Now he's gonna attack that and play it tight. He does a really good job of trying to turn his body to open that gate. All right, now he's using the body of the blocker to occupy that gap. So now what he's going to do is he could fall back or he can continue over the top. But here comes Bolton inside out, right? And he's going to end up on that same lineman and watch what happens. Boom. I mean, this offensive lineman had a hell of a time on this play. He gets all turned around. Boop, boop, on the ground. He gets an assisted tackle for that, I believe. I don't know if offensive linemen can have assisted tackles, but there's one. All right, so there you go. Again, once again, the Kansas City Chiefs playing great run defense just by playing the rules. They're all keying the fullback. The fullback goes right, and even though the tailback goes left, the whole key is where does the fullback go, because he's the one that represents the extra gap. All right, so there you go, Kansas City doing it again.